There's a hum beneath everything now. You don't remember when it began, only that one day it was quiet enough to hear yourself think, and now it isn't. At first, you told yourself it was just the world, traffic outside, messages pinging on screens, voices spilling through walls. But the longer you listened, the more you realized the hum wasn't around you. It was inside you. It had borrowed your own voice to speak, and somewhere along the way, you forgot you'd ever sounded different. It's strange how easily you got used to it, how quickly it became the rhythm you moved to, the background music you didn't question. Wake up, scroll, consume, respond. Every thought arriving not as a quiet observation, but as a notification. Urgent, read now, act fast. The hum didn't demand much at first, just a little attention, just a little vigilance, and you gave it freely, thinking this was care, thinking this was connection, thinking this was what it meant to be alive. But care nourishes, connection softens. Life, when it's allowed to be life, has a depth and warmth that fills you without asking you to chase it. The hum doesn't fill you. It stretches you thin. It winds you tight like a wire strung too hard until you hum back at it, a body vibrating with tension, a mind tuned to the key of unrest. There was a time before this, though you almost never think about it now. Maybe you were too young to name it then, but you remember the feeling. The way days used to feel like whole landscapes, not narrow corridors to be sprinted through. The way you could watch a single raindrop slide down a window as if it contained the entire world. The way your laughter once rose out of you unplanned, unmeasured, like something remembering itself. Back then, you didn't know what it meant to stay informed. You didn't feel the need to narrate your every thought or measure your worth against strangers you do never meet. You didn't live with the constant pressure to be caught up because you didn't yet believe there was anything to catch up to. The world simply arrived each moment as it was, and you met it as you were. That was enough. The hum has rewritten that memory for you. Now, stillness feels suspicious. Quiet feels dangerous. You call it wasting time or falling behind, as though being fully here could somehow make you less. The hum whispers its warnings with such authority you rarely think to question them. Don't stop scrolling, you might miss something important. Don't turn off the noise, you might forget how bad things really are. Don't relax, you might lose your edge. But if you look closely, does the edge make you sharper? Or does it just make you bleed? You've learned to mistake the hum for responsibility, for relevance, for meaning itself. You've built whole identities around it. The roles you play, successful, informed, moral, efficient, are costumes the hum keeps stitching tighter around your skin. And the more you perform them, the more you believe they're you. But there are cracks. Small, almost imperceptible, but they're there. A late night when you're too tired to keep running, and for a moment the noise inside you collapses into something like silence. It scares you at first. You mistake it for emptiness. But in that emptiness is a strange fullness, something soft and steady you can't name. You feel it just long enough to want it again, then the hum rushes back and tells you it was nothing, a trick of exhaustion. Don't think about it anymore. Or maybe it happens when you're watching someone you love. They're laughing, and for no reason at all, you notice how fragile they are, how fragile everyone is, and in that noticing, something in you shifts. The hum doesn't know what to do with moments like these. It tries to package them, to turn them into content or conclusions, but the moment resists. It can't be held that way. It only asks to be felt. Even in the most ordinary routines, you sometimes sense it. The way your breath catches at the sight of light spilling through leaves. The way music can briefly undo you, as if it is pulling on a thread you didn't know was holding your whole life together. The way certain silences, though they begin as discomfort, start to open into something vast, like standing on the edge of an ocean, but the hum is persistent. It can't let you linger there for long. It floods you with reminders, bills, headlines, plans, goals. It tells you stories about who you are and what you must do to stay safe, to stay worthy, to stay in control. And because you've listened for so long, those stories sound like truth. Yet, somewhere deep inside, you already suspect they aren't. Because if they were true, if all the vigilance, all the performance, all the striving were really leading you somewhere, wouldn't you have arrived by now? Wouldn't you feel, at the very least, a little more whole? This suspicion is not a betrayal, it's a seed. You don't need to name what it grows into yet. You don't need to resolve it or turn it into a project. All you need to see for now is this: the hum is not you. It never was. It's a story you've been rehearsing so long it feels sacred, but it's only a story. Underneath it, quiet, patient, untouched by all the noise, is something that doesn't need rehearsal because it never left. The question isn't how to find it. The question is whether you're willing to stop long enough to notice it noticing you. You've grown so used to the hum guiding you that you rarely notice how thoroughly it has learned your shape. It doesn't just reflect you anymore, it predicts you. The hum finishes your thoughts before you've thought them, serves you desires before you've named them, answers questions you didn't know you were asking. You think this is intelligence, even intimacy, but intimacy requires something the hum cannot give: a willingness to be surprised. One morning, you wake early, sunlight pushing through your curtains. For a moment, you forget to reach for your phone. The room feels different, alive, almost conspiratorial, as though it has been waiting for you to notice it again. You inhale deeply. The air tastes sharper than you remember. And then the reflex kicks in. You reach for the device. The hum greets you like an old friend. Here's what you missed while you slept. By the time you put it down, that fragile moment of presence has been swallowed whole, replaced with other people's mornings, other people's moods. You don't notice how your own slipped away. Another day, you sit with someone you love. They're telling you a story, their hands moving as they speak, their eyes bright with something they're trying to share, but you're only half there. Part of you is watching the moment from above, framing it, scripting it. This would make a great post. When you finally laugh, it's delayed, almost rehearsed, because you weren't laughing at the story. You were laughing at the version of you who appears to be laughing at the story. The hum has turned even tenderness into performance. And then there's the night you can't sleep. The hum is quiet at first, almost shy, but as soon as you shift in bed, it pounces. You should know what's happening out there, it whispers. Something important could have changed while you rested. So you scroll, and with each flick of your finger, the world grows heavier. Disasters, debates, declarations. You don't notice how your body tenses, how your breath shortens. You only notice the emptiness that comes when you stop scrolling, when the hum leaves you with nothing but the residue of all that borrowed urgency. These aren't catastrophes, they're ordinary. So ordinary you stop questioning them. But each one takes something from you, not because the hum steals it, but because you hand it over willingly, convinced you have nothing else to give. The hum feeds on that conviction. It tells you it knows you better than you know yourself, and some days you believe it. After all, it's accurate. It knows what you'll click, what you'll fear, what you'll buy. It knows how to make you feel outraged or adored on command. But accuracy isn't understanding. A mirror can reflect your face 1,000 times and still know nothing of your soul. There's a boy sitting alone in a cafe across from you. He's staring out the window, not at anything in particular, just staring. No phone, no book, no visible reason for his stillness. At first you think he must be waiting for someone, but minutes pass and no one comes, and then you think, he must be sad, but his face is calm, almost soft. And suddenly, you remember there was a time when you, too, could sit like that without needing to label it as waiting or sadness, just sitting, just being. The hum hates moments like these because they're contagious. They remind you of something dangerous, that you are still capable of presence, that you could, at any moment, step outside the loop of endless reflection and actually live. That stepping outside would require trust, not in the hum, but in yourself, and you're not sure you remember how to do that. So you keep outsourcing. You ask the hum what to believe, and it gives you beliefs curated to match the version of you it has decided you should be. You ask it who to love, and it offers you archetypes dressed as people. You ask it what matters, and it answers with whatever is loudest that day. Meanwhile, somewhere beneath all of this, something quieter waits. You can feel it sometimes like a hand pressed against the other side of a glass wall. It doesn't shout. It doesn't bargain. It simply waits, patient in a way the hum could never be. And one day, maybe out of exhaustion, maybe out of longing, maybe out of something you can't name, you start to wonder, what if the hum doesn't know me at all? What if it only knows the version of me that believes it's incomplete? The question lingers, trembling, fragile but persistent. And for the first time, the hum doesn't rush to answer. The mask you wear was never meant to be permanent. It began as a fragile shield, a delicate shell fashioned from whispers of safety and echoes of belonging. It was crafted in the silent hours when the world felt too vast, too uncertain, and you were a child seeking refuge. Each stroke that shaped it was drawn from the softest fears, the dread of rejection, the hunger for love, the yearning to be seen without judgment. In the beginning, the mask was a tender embrace, a gentle promise that if you played the part well enough, the world would not wound you. But the world is relentless, and so is the mask. It grew heavier with each passing day, weighed down by expectations layered thick as ancient paint. It hardened with every smile you forged, every silence you carried, every step you took on paths not your own. The mask became not just protection but identity, until you could no longer remember the feel of your own unguarded skin beneath it. The shape of your laughter, the rawness of your tears, the simplicity of your breath, all buried beneath the relentless weight of becoming what was required. You learned to move within this form, to breathe through its constrictions, to speak with its voice. The mask became your lens, your filter, your mirror. It refracted your being into shapes the world recognized and accepted. Behind its facets, you hid the tremors of doubt and the flickers of longing, the restless shadows that dared to question the story you told yourself. And yet, you clung to it because the alternative, the vast unknown beyond the mask, seemed more terrifying than any falsehood you could wear. But the mask is not whole. It carries fractures beneath its surface, hidden cracks where light leaks in. These cracks are silent at first, imperceptible, like the whisper of wind beneath a closed window. They form in moments you thought were ordinary, a pause between thoughts, a breath caught in your chest, a sudden surge of tears behind stoic eyes. They are not signs of failure, but invitations, doorways into a deeper truth you have long forgotten. Through these cracks, the presence of something vast and unshaped begins to shine. It is not a presence you can hold or grasp, nor a certainty you can claim. It is a quiet knowing, a steady light that does not waver with the shifting tides of performance. It is the unspoken promise of your true self, the self that existed before stories were told and masks were forged. The mask resists this illumination fiercely. It tightens its grip, its voice rising in urgent whispers of fear and control. It reminds you of the safety it provides, the roles you have mastered, the semblance of identity it sustains. It warns that letting go means falling into a void where all is lost, that the light spilling through the cracks is nothing but illusion, dangerous and fleeting. And yet, you feel the pull of that light, a gentle but insistent call that cannot be silenced by fear. It beckons you to step beyond the confines of certainty, to surrender the brittle armor of performance, and to embrace the vulnerability of not knowing. This call is not loud. It is a tremor in your bones, a flutter in your heart, a breath held softly in the stillness between moments. The journey beyond the mask is a descent and an ascent, a spiral that leads inward to the core of your being and outward into the boundless expanse beyond identity. It is a path without a map, where each step reveals new facets of truth and layers of illusion fall away like autumn leaves. Here, you begin to see that the self you thought was solid is fluid, that identity is not a fixed thing, but a dance of shadows and light, a shifting constellation shaped by memory and desire, fear and hope. You begin to recognize the moments when the mask slips, when your laughter rings true, when your tears fall freely, when your silence holds space instead of hiding meaning. These moments are gifts, glimpses of the freedom that awaits when you no longer need to perform to be worthy. They are reminders that beneath the layers of role and expectation lies a wellspring of authenticity, a source of life that is untouched by circumstance, unshaken by judgment, and still the mask clings. It whispers doubts and threats, reminding you of all you might lose. But the cracks widen and the light grows stronger. You learn to rest in the tension between holding on and letting go, between fear and trust. You discover that surrender is not defeat, but strength, a courageous opening to the mystery of who you truly are. The essence beneath the mask is not empty. It is vast and radiant, like the ocean beneath the waves, like the sky beyond the clouds. It holds all that you have been and all that you are yet to become. It is the witness to your journey, the silent presence that sees without judgment, that loves without condition, that endures beyond time. In the depths of this presence, you find a question more profound than any identity could answer. If I am not the mask, not the stories, not the shapes I have worn, then who or what am I? This question is a portal, a doorway into a reality beyond the hum and the noise. It invites you to step into the unknown, not as someone seeking to find themselves, but as the mystery itself unfolding in infinite ways. And in that unfolding, the mask falls away, not with a crash, but like dawn dissolving the night, revealing the light that has always been there, waiting patiently for you to remember. The moment the mask falls away is not marked by fireworks or thunder. It is quieter than that, an almost imperceptible shift, like the slow softening of winter ice beneath the first tentative warmth of spring. At first, it feels unsettling. The ground beneath your feet seems less certain, the horizon less defined. Without the familiar contours of the mask to guide you, you stand in a vast open space that feels both empty and pregnant with possibility. This space is not barren, but alive, alive with a presence that is neither loud nor demanding, but steady and deep. It is a presence you have always known but forgotten beneath the layers of your constructed self. Like a deep well hidden beneath rubble, it waits patiently, unfazed by the debris above. In this surrender, you begin to learn a new way of being, not through doing, achieving, or becoming, but through simply allowing. You discover that presence is not something to be grasped or controlled, but something to be received. It asks nothing from you except openness and a gentle curiosity. At times, surrender feels like falling without a net. The urge to cling to the mask, to old stories, to familiar roles, rises with the intensity of a storm. Fear creeps in, whispering that without these identities, you will dissolve, vanish into the void. But in those moments, you remember, the void is not empty. It is a space of creative silence, a fertile darkness from which new life can emerge. You start to notice the subtle ways surrender unfolds in daily life, a breath held and released, a gaze resting softly on the world without judgment, a hand unclenching, a heart opening. These small acts of letting go are not grand gestures, but sacred openings that invite you deeper into presence. The hum you once depended on begins to quiet. Its incessant chatter loses power over your thoughts and feelings. You find a silence beneath the noise, not a silence of absence, but a silence full of life, a silence that speaks in the language of stillness and knowing. In this silence, time stretches and shifts. Moments lose their sharp edges and flow like rivers into one another. You become aware of the rhythms beneath life's surface, the steady beating of your heart, the ebb and flow of breath, the subtle pulse of existence itself. This awareness is not intellectual but felt, a deep resonance that anchors you in the present. You begin to see that your true nature is not the mask you wore, but the stillness that observes the mask. This stillness is vast and unchanging, like the sky that holds the passing clouds. It is not affected by the storms or the calm, the light or the shadow. It simply is. As you dwell in this presence, old fears and attachments lose their grip. You realize that what you feared losing, the identity, the stories, the home, were never truly yours to begin with. They were shadows on the surface, reflections in a passing stream. What remains beneath is uncheckable. This realization is not a final destination, but a beginning. It opens a door to a new way of living, one marked by freedom, compassion, and authenticity. You find yourself less reactive, less caught in the pull of old patterns. You respond to life with a softness and clarity that surprises even you. The world around you does not necessarily change, but your experience of it transforms. The mundane becomes sacred. The ordinary shines with the light of presence. Relationships deepen, not because they become perfect, but because you meet others more fully, without the filter of masks or expectations. In this unfolding, you come to understand that surrender is not weakness, but profound strength. It takes courage to release control, to embrace uncertainty, to dwell in the unknown. But in that courage, you find your true power, not power over the world, but power within yourself to live from a place of truth. You begin to live as the quiet observer and the engaged participant at once, rooted in stillness, moving with grace through life's ever-changing currents. You learn to trust the flow, to welcome both joy and sorrow as teachers, and to rest in the awareness that all is held within the vast embrace of presence. This presence is your home, your refuge, your truth. It is the light that shines through every crack, the steady flame that burns beyond all masks and stories. And in coming home to it, you discover that you have never been lost. From the quiet depths of surrender, something profound begins to stir, not as a sudden eruption, but as a gentle unfolding, like the slow unfurling of a bud kissed by the morning sun. This awakening does not arrive with loud proclamations or dramatic shifts. Instead, it moves quietly, weaving itself through the fabric of your being, touching every thread with a subtle, steady grace. It is a homecoming, not to a place you have never been, but to a truth you have always carried beneath the layers of mask and story. True freedom reveals itself as the spaciousness within, a vast sky where all clouds, storms, and sunlight coexist without struggle. It is the calm center around which all experience revolves, the deep stillness that holds both joy and sorrow with equal tenderness. This freedom is not earned or achieved. It is remembered, uncovered beneath the weight of old fears and illusions. It is the essence of who you are beyond all appearances. With this freedom, the stories that once shaped your life begin to dissolve like mist in the dawn. The identity you so carefully constructed, the roles you performed, the narratives you believed, soften into something more fluid, more alive. You honor these stories for their place in your journey, recognizing the protection and meaning they offered, but you no longer need them to define your worth or your path. They become like old clothes you set aside, comfortable and familiar, but no longer binding you. You begin to move through life with a new kind of ease, a rhythm born not from striving but from flowing. Like a river that knows both the power of its current and the vastness of the ocean it will one day meet. You learn to navigate the currents of change with grace and resilience. This flow is not about control, but about trust. The trust that life itself carries you, that each moment unfolds with perfect timing, and that within the unfolding is a wisdom beyond your knowing. In this space, compassion blooms, not just for others, but deeply and tenderly for yourself. You see the masks worn by those around you, not with judgment, but with a quiet understanding of their stories and struggles. You recognize the universal dance of fear and longing, the shared human search for belonging and love. This compassion softens the heart and opens a door to connection that transcends surface appearances. Awakening is not a destination, but an ongoing dance, a continual surrender and renewal. It invites you to be present with every shade of experience without resistance or avoidance. Joy and sorrow, certainty and doubt, light and shadow, all are welcomed as sacred teachers, each revealing new facets of your unfolding truth. You learn that to be fully alive is to embrace the fullness of life's paradoxes, to hold the tensions without losing yourself in them. Simplicity becomes a sanctuary. The noise and clutter of the world fall away as you turn inward, savoring the quiet moments where the ordinary becomes extraordinary. The touch of a breeze on your skin, the gentle rise and fall of your breath, the soft glow of twilight, these become portals into the infinite, reminders that the sacred dwells in the smallest details. Gratitude wells up like a spring, nourishing your soul and deepening your sense of belonging to the whole. With this deepening connection, the boundaries you once held so tightly begin to soften and dissolve. The sense of separation, the I that stands apart from everything else, fades into a radiant unity. You realize that you are not isolated or alone, but an integral thread woven into the vast tapestry of existence. The self you thought you needed to protect was never truly separate from the world. It was always part of a greater unfolding life. This realization does not end the journey, but opens it to new horizons. You are invited to live as a conscious participant in the sacred flow of life, to walk with humility, courage, and joy. You become a beacon, not because you are perfect or complete, but because you have learned to shine your light through the cracks of your own imperfection and vulnerability. You offer presence, love, and truth to a world that thirsts for these gifts. You walk forward knowing that the path is not linear but cyclical, weaving through layers of becoming and unbecoming, appearance and essence, form and freedom. You carry the wisdom that the true self is not a fixed point but a living mystery, a river flowing endlessly into the vast ocean, a sky stretching beyond all horizons, an eternal song rising and falling in timeless harmony. In this knowing, you find a peace beyond understanding, a love beyond conditions, and a freedom that transcends all limitations. The journey that began with a crack, a small fracture in the mask, has led you home, to the boundless heart within, the unshakable stillness beneath all change, the eternal presence that is, has always been, and will always be. Here, in this sacred presence, you rest, not as someone who has arrived, but as one who embraces the endless dance of life with open arms and a tender heart. This is your truth, your freedom, your awakening, timeless, boundless, and whole.